Hello guys and welcome back to another video with me Slivers FX in this Gothic 2 returning guide. Today we're going to be joining the Mercenaries, and Mercenaries is one of those guilds where you can get the biggest amount of experience without actually even joining them. They do have quite a bit of quests, including just the joining part, but the biggest amount of experience you can get is by beating basically everyone in the camp up. So the first person you meet on the way is obviously Buster, and you're gonna beat him up and be nice about it. Now if you've gotten this far in the game, then well, like me, you can probably one-shot him. And since Buster was down, I just took advantage and get the second guy in a row. There you go. Well, he actually gets down, Buster will get up, and he will tell you a little bit about Sentenza, the guy that's at the entrance of Owner's farm, where the mercenaries are located. So if you give him 5 gold, eventually in Act 3, he will also give you a business opportunity with collecting Shadow Beast horns. And I think he pays about 60 or even 80 gold for each. And once you have enough, you can actually make a few thousand gold out of that. Second person we'll meet is Fester. And he's one of those guys that thinks he can get up in the world by using other people. And instead of using us, we're gonna also beat him up.
Smart kid.
His quest is getting rid of all of these field beetles, or field raiders as in the original translation.
So, подожди минутку.
So once you do that, he will tell you that he won't help you with either money or your reputation, so just beat him up. And yes, you did just hear a beep.
What do you?
Now getting to beat up mercenaries in this little episode was very fun for me, mostly because you don't get to do that with any other guild, just this one. Every other guild will be like, you can beat people, but mercenaries actually enjoy watching this, so let's do it. That's 1, that's 2, that's 3. And you might as well keep going. Next up is Raoul. Who will eventually say that you can do whatever you want if you join the mercenaries, but first let's beat him up. It's also part of Jarvis's quest to beat up all of Silvio's men. That includes Raoul, Fester, Sentenza, and a couple of others. I think Rod's also included, who's next on the list. If you have at least 30 strength, you can also lift up his sword. Either it's 25 or 30, I'm not exactly sure. I sure have more than that though. And by not giving him his sword back, you initiate in a fight that, well, is barehanded. I believe that at one point you actually get a ring that gives you 20 more damage for each time you punch somebody. So if you have that, might as well equip it for this fight alone. Otherwise you might have a hard time like I did. I had to actually hit him several times before he went down, even though his health is not even that impressive. If you have a lot of strength, he will go down faster now. Here's another mercenary, and he will go down just as anybody else. And yes, that's Mario sounds that you hear in the back.
That's right. Who did you hear that from?
Wolf will ask you to shoot 3 arrows in 3 targeting zones.
Okay.
And it's the quest, I think it's called On the Bullseye or something similar. Or similarly, the Bullseye, but I think that's a wrong translation from the Russian original quest line. So once you get to this little area here, you have to pull up your bow and hit 3 targets without using auto aim. And get back to Wolf and he will accept you as part of their crew and joining the Mercenaries, of course. Next up, who will it be? Cypher. Cypher is missing his swamp wheat. And I think I actually made a mistake here, if I'm not mistaken. Because you can actually give him the swamp wheat that you gather, as well as the package that you found in the Harbor district of Corinnes. But make sure you get through all the dialogues, get to Bodo and Dar, and tell him also that Dar stole his wheat, even though I don't know how that is connected. I never explored this entire quest line. Eventually he will beat up Dar, and Dar doesn't really care if you join the Mercenaries or not. Eventually he'll just say, you don't want to join them, blah blah blah. But you can at least get a couple of swamp wheats from Dar before doing that. And a little bit of experience on top. For me, Dar is the most unexperienced and probably the most annoying mercenary in the camp, in Ona's farm, sure.
Dude,
He has some traits that I would just rather remove from a person like that. Everybody else is sort of cool.
Have you ever?
He also has a quest, a mini quest, that you don't normally get, but if you made a tobacco with mushrooms, I believe, or was it with swamp wheat? Yeah, one of that, and you give him to smoke it, you will get extra experience.
Подожди минутку.
Cypher.
Now, even though he will not tell you anything about where the package is, no matter how much rhetoric you might have, he just won't talk, even if you beat him up.
I know who.
But Cypher will get to know that knowledge nonetheless, so once you tell him, he will just beat him up.
You poor sucker.
And once he does that, you can beat him up again just for a little extra experience.
You really not the hint.
The little.
Well, we'll see the next
And
time.
by mistake, I actually tried to rob Cypher here.
Подожди минутку.
And it didn't work, because he only had a 38% chance of doing it. And I get 150 experience here just for beating up Dar.
Would this package of swamp weed happen to be yours?
Well,
It's a
doesn't matter here.
Now here's where I delivered the package back to Cypher, and he will definitely now be,
Ну, что ж.
well, rooting for us. But even though I stole from him earlier, I still have to beat him up. But it's fine. He won't mind if I beat him up anyway.
that hurts.
It's part of a duel anyway. This is one of the most experienced mercenaries around. He will need quite a bit of more convincing to actually get him to forgive you for stealing from him. In that case, it's easier to just beat him up. Meanwhile, other mercenaries await, and from some you can get quite a bit of chunk of experience. The hardest ones will even get you 450, like this one.
Покажи уже, на что ты способен. Грязно.
Может. No, he's got 50.
And the second time you talk to Cypher, I guess he will actually try to buy you back. So you give him 50 gold and you're home free. The only person I wouldn't suggest fighting is Court, and it's mostly because he actually helps you a lot.
Hey, to the. Oh,
Everybody else, including the guys in the house, just go for it. Except Lee, of course.
Yes.
There's no point in actually fighting Lee. In the original Gothic 2, for example, Silvio was unbeatable because he had some magical armor in these first 2 chapters. But once you get to kill the dragons and you meet him there, it's not a problem beating him at all. Here, on the other hand, they remove that, and he is quite beatable and super easy, honestly. There are guys that are much harder than him. Torloff will actually send you. Once you talk to Torloff, he will send you on your way to get either rid of the mercenaries or collect rent from the other farmer. I think his name is Sekop. If you still have time and it's not nighttime yet, talk to Court, as he will give you a quest to find out about a missing mercenary, Patrick. You have to go to Dexter's bandit camp to find out. He will give you all the instructions what you need to do, including telling the guard in front that you know the boss. And for that, in exchange, he will help you get rid of the mercenaries on Bengar's farm. But before you do that, you should probably go to Bengar and get rid of the mercenaries yourself, and that way you get extra experience.
How do you...
Bengar will tell you, obviously, that there are mercenaries coming here often, and they demand tribute for the city. Once they arrive, you can pretty much kick their asses. In exchange for this, for helping Bengar, there's also another mini quest in between. If you ever met the farmer Balthazar on Sekop's farm, he will say that he needs a place where he can bring his sheep. If you get rid of these mercenaries, Bengar will actually allow for Balthazar to come up here. Once you get rid of the military or the militia, you should talk to Bengar again, and you can now safely return to Olma's farm and continue to Dexter's bandit camp. And once you get to the top, just talk to the guard and tell him that you know the boss. His name is Dexter, and he'll let you in.
I want to... Dexter.
Then go directly to Dexter and you will start talking. You can mention the missing mercenary Patrick. You can also talk about the missing people and where they're taking them. He will tell you that Raven is responsible for it.
They say so.
But until you actually kill everybody and read the note that he has from Raven, you cannot advance with that specific quest. Alright, we got our information. I will equip the Fire Rain for obliterating the entire camp instantly, basically. But before we do that, we can actually rob every single bandit that is up here. Might as well save before you do that. But eventually, yeah, it's pretty damn simple. So once you rob every bandit in the camp, just use your Fire Rain right here. And you destroy them instantly, just more or less because they have so little amount of health. Apart from Dexter and his bodyguard, but Fire Rain just does the job on its own. Also depends on how much intelligence you have. The more intelligence you have, the more damage you do with spells. Alright, that's it for here. You go back to either Court or Torloff.
I went and Dex. There was no Dex.
And tell him that the problems have been solved. In the meantime, just beat up more mercenaries. Especially the ones that give you the biggest amount of XP.
Bad.
If you get behind them, that you can actually get them down before they even have time to draw their weapon.
I couldn't care less.
Pepe, on the other hand, has one of those quests where they're outside of the jurisdictions of mercenaries, where you have to kill 4 wolves. In my case, the Assassin's Guild is still here,
The kingdom come.
and Charlotte's actually trying to attack the little poor boar. Once you do that, Pepe will tell you that you also want to beat up Bulko because he was supposed to be guarding the sheep in the first place. In between, basically, you get a few more quests and a lot more experience just for doing everything on the farm. And until the very last minute of doing it, well, you don't even have to join them and you still get the experience needed. You can always join another guild. I always recommend doing this one before joining any other guild if you so wish, or just join the Mercenaries as it is. Here I am trying to get Bulko to get out, and well, by talking to Silvio twice, you trigger Bulko's response and he will start attacking you on his own. You don't even have to provoke him or anything. But if you go too far, he will draw his bow, like he did here, which is sort of cheating. But if you go behind the little tree, then he will draw his melee weapon.
Let him have it.
Because if he hits you with the bow until you run out of HP, then you will die. You will not just go down, you will definitely die. Go back to Pepe and tell him you beat up Bulko. Of course, we still have a few more mercenaries left. I'm gonna here talk to Jarvis. And once you actually beat them up, he will give you quite a bit of experience on top of everything, plus an open achievement which is called Lease Protégé.
Which of them?
If you remember Jarvis, he was actually in Gothic 1, and well, he roots for you to beat up as many people as possible. Tekla is also one of the side quests that you can do always anytime you want. I can still beat up Bulko later if you so wish. And she will give you +2 for beating him up, +2 for bringing the package from Sagita, which we're doing now.
Yeah.
And the third one, I believe it is when you join the Mercenaries and you do something spectacular for her. I can't remember though, because I never joined the Mercenaries.
Here's the
Thanks a lot.
I just do their quests because it's a lot of experience. There you go. So the Teklas 2 gives you +1 strength. And it helps you overall.
And as far as I'm warm.
If you want to beat up Silvio, just basically start attacking him, because otherwise you won't be able to provoke him.
Have I?
I wanted to save the game here before I start attacking him, in case he would get me down, even though he only has 1,000 health. But like I said before, he doesn't have any magical armor, so he will probably bleed to death before he can even get to you. And as mentioned in one of my videos, I think it was a vlog, where I mentioned that I use a spear instead of one-handed weapons because of its range and armor penetration, and it's super effective against guys like this. They can't reach you while you can reach them. And there you go. Silvio is beat up. You can now go back to Jarvis and tell him that all of the
How many of
Silvio's men
Silvio's
have been
men are
taken
still on
care
my
of. You
list?
get
I
5,000
bested
experience,
Rod looks a
which is
Vestergaard.
quite a
I went
bit.
to
If
see
you were
him,
level
and he
1,
was
that gives you
badly-
like 3 levels at least,
Именно так.
he was
with one
badly
quest
in-
alone.
That's enough. You really whooped
Plus the
every
experience you
single-
get from beating them
I'm
up.
impressed.
I don't know.
You can also talk to the blacksmith, but he won't give you anything important to do until you actually
how come-
join the mercenaries.
What are the... How's my reputation?
Once you beat up every single one of them or get the quest done for them, you will receive 1,000 experience from Torloff for gathering respect
ready
from the
to-
mercenaries.
What did he? Good.
One of the last steps is to tell Lee that you're ready to join them and go to owner himself, and you can actually negotiate your pay.
Least he's all right, but if Lee... For every... All we need...
So what about my pay, right?
100. What do you say?
If you have
Per day?
25
What do you think?
rhetoric,
Просто
he
я
will
мог бы
give you
принести
even
больше
more.
пользы.
And it's actually more
You-
profitable
I
than
put
joining the
everything
militia.
I-
Even though the militia, once you do a few quests for them, your paycheck will increase. I'm not sure if the same is with mercenaries, because I haven't tried.
I've got a... Not quite
The last
enough.
side quest is Vasily and his old coins.
It's
Now,
a
if you
deal.
gather a lot of old coins, especially from Jarkadar later on,
Interested in...
you get quite a bit of experience and double the gold in return for each one of them you collected. And, well, that's pretty much it for joining the mercenaries.
I'm ready.
Have you seen?
He agreed.
Welcome here. I'm glad to...
Go back to
Has
Lee
do with
and
the
you
paladin.
will
You
be one of them. You'll get your first
about-
armor and your first few tasks. You can
Look
even
very
buy better
smart.
armor, but I do not recommend it if you already done the Assassin's Guild
What about
quest
some...
line. That's it for this video, guys. Please like and subscribe for more future content, and as always, thanks for watching.